Thank you, everyone, and welcome to this evening's Raleigh City Council meeting. Before we begin, I just wanted to note, and first off, say thank you to everybody for pivoting with us. We did have an outbreak in the municipal building, COVID outbreak, and hence the change to virtual meetings. So thank you, everybody, for bearing with us. I wanted to also note that if anybody is signed up or called in regarding a public hearing, public hearings have been postponed until May 10th at 4 o'clock. So that would be the FEMA flood map scheduled for tonight, street improvements on Sandy Forks Road, New Bern Avenue and Bart Street, West Edenton Street, the text change for missing middle housing, and the comp plan frequent transit areas. All of them have been moved, like I said, to May 10th. And so we will start and have public comment, and that will be our meeting for this evening. Wanted to remind everybody that there's, because of the number of people who've signed up, 2 minutes per person. And we will start with Christina Jones.
8005 Inland Drive. In regards to the Z4521 Navajo Drive rezoning, I would like to give some resident feedback from the last Midtown CAC meeting. We had 24 attendees, including the law firm representing this case. Our concerns centered around the residents who live in this area and if they were going to be included in the new iteration of this development. There are currently about 350 units, and they pay roughly $1,500 per month. When asked about the possibility of including affordable housing as a condition, we were told that they have decided to keep 10% of their units dedicated to those who make 80% AMI. The annual median income that was used was $95,000 per household. When we break that down, it means that we will go down from 350 units to 320 units. It also means that those households making $76,000 will be eligible to live there for a limited amount of time. I understand this may look like a step in the right direction, but it's not enough. Why are we not demanding that each rezoning has a stronger community benefit than only assisting those making over $75,000? It is horrible that as a city, we are telling people that can't afford to live in the same area that they have built to be such a great place to live. Whether you give these residents 30, 60, or 90 days notice, how do they find an affordable place to live? Will there be a requirement that developers work with organizations to ensure that residents find comparable housing options? If not, developers are throwing people out of the city. If we look at the median wages of police officers and firefighters that the budget department presented earlier today, most wouldn't meet that threshold. We pay firefighters to be on call 24/7 while on duty. Imagine how frustrating it must be to not find housing in the area you want to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Chantel Miles.
Yes, is my slide showing? All right, thank you. My name is Chantel Miles, and I live at 3408 Sioux Drive. First, I'd like to address a statement Councilor Stewart made at a recent meeting. She said that it's the same people who participate in public comment time after time, but this is simply not true. I collected data from City Council minutes for September 4th, 2018 to September 7th, 2022 for a total of 64 meetings. 32 meetings before Council began meeting virtually and 32 meetings after. You can see this data displayed in the bar graph. During the virtual meetings, participation in public comments increased 17%. And the number of individuals that spoke only once before council increased 23%. Given this data, particularly the 23% increase in one-time speakers, can we please drop the tired false narrative that only the same people engage in public comment? Even if this were true, which it's not, let's not begrudge people for exercising their right to free speech and to petition their elected officials. We are living in seemingly unprecedented times, and it would be kind on your part to show all the people you are elected to serve some grace. I encourage all those who are running for Raleigh City Council in the upcoming election to support allowing virtual public comments at in-person meetings and to at least make their stance known on this issue. It is certainly not unlawful for the city council to allow this practice, regardless of what the city attorney says. And in fact, it embodies the spirit of the laws that are currently governing public meetings. It would also go a long way towards making city government more accessible to those who do not have the time, transportation, or good health to attend in person.
Thank you, Chantel. Your time is up. Thank you. Next, we have Lisa Hugnet.
This is Lisa Hewitt, and I live at 712 Hinsdale Street. Whatever the developer wants, they get. Comp plans and small area plans seem to mean nothing. Affordable housing around rapid transit means nothing when you continue to approve rezoning in those areas that include 0 affordable units. I recognize your efforts to include some affordable housing parameters in the form of density bonuses around BRT, but it doesn't go far enough. Even the Urban Land Growth Institute, who advised you on this, said that density bonuses are rarely taken up by developers. Last year, the city of Raleigh completed 205 rental units. 205. To tackle the lack of affordable housing, you need to either get tougher with developers or get more creative because the city alone cannot buy or build their way out of this hole. Other cities have been able to crack this nut. Why can't Raleigh? I'm going to hammer again on inclusionary zoning. Other municipalities follow this policy, and you've said it's illegal. If you are really serious about accommodating our working class residents with home options, then you need to get with the General Assembly and change this law. It's that simple. Raleigh is a hot market. The longtime residents are paying the price. The property taxes are increasing, and rents have increased 35% over the past year. I recognize that there are relief programs available, but what most people don't know is that those programs were created at the state level, and very few people in Raleigh qualify because they make too much. Now let's talk about the investment groups building up property or buying up property and building market rate or luxury units. These firms have algorithms in place to identify property and can place a cash offer in less than an hour. The city can't respond like that, so what you need to do is work another angle. And inclusionary zoning seems to be one that you can have a measurable impact with. And I wish you were to follow that rule. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Rebecca Henderson.
Mayor, Rebecca is not on the call.
Okay, Jack Cozart.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council and staff. I'm Jack Cozart. I live at 2611 Glen Eden Drive. I'm a member of the HOA Board of Directors for Laurel Woods. We would be a downstream neighbor of the proposed development of 4008 Laurel Hills Road. The proposed development consists of only 10 acres. Fewer of those are buildable acres, with 76 proposed townhomes, some 7 to 10 townhomes per acre. Laurel Woods, where I live, consists of 25.18 total acres with 93 townhomes, only about a third of the number of townhomes per acre. Laurel Woods has half the number or a third of the townhomes compared to the proposed plan. If the current proposed plan is approved, this would be a significant imbalance of residential density, not only among Laurel Woods, but certainly among the neighboring communities, most of which are single-family homes. I have a visual representation which shows what the development would be. We understand the original plan was for only 48 units. We recognize the need for more housing, especially affordable housing in the city, and we understand the city advancing high density along certain major traffic corridors, railroad connections, and the like. However, this property is not the place for compact development. Natural amenities are an important part of the character of these neighborhoods. We ask that you deny approval of the proposed development until all the many concerns you are going to hear can be addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mayor, I was wondering if staff could address this because this isn't a rezoning, I don't believe.
I was just getting ready to ask that question. I believe this is administrative and not a rezoning. Can we get some clarification on that?
Pat Young with Planning and Development. As the mayor just indicated, the Laurel Hills project that the speaker spoke to is an administrative approval, meaning that it will go through staff review, and if it meets all requirements of our Unified Development Ordinance and associated ordinances are met, we have to approve it. There is a meeting scheduled for this coming Monday, May 9th, at the request of Councilmember Knight, and staff will attend and meet with the community members to go through in detail all the components of the administrative review process and all the applicable development standards. And we have provided detailed information to, I think, all the speakers, certainly everybody who's emailed us, which has been about 24 folks. So, again, this is an administrative approval, which would not come to council for final action.
Okay, and you said there's a neighborhood meeting on May 9th that has been called by Councilmember Knight.
So a question about this.
Hold on 1 second. I just want to confirm that. Councilmember Knight.
Yes, ma'am. I'm meeting with the representatives of the neighborhood on, I believe that's right, Monday with staff.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Cox.
To Mr. Young, I mean, the reason this is an administrative review is because of recent zoning changes this council made to allow the greater density in R4 zoning districts. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next we have Polina Voronsky.
Can you hear me? Hi, I live at 4516 Winchelsea Place, Raleigh. I'm right now, I want to discuss that I came on the council meeting a few times and I discussed about the parking on my street. Obviously, councilors didn't like what I had to do, so they sent 3 or 4 inspectors to my house with the court order and with the forced entry and with false accusations. The few people that are involved was the city attorney and Commissioner Bufkin. We invited him a few times on our street to come and view what is the issue, but he refused to come. I don't understand how he can resolve one street, and he wants to run for North Carolina Senate and resolve for the entire state if he can resolve for 8 houses street parking for one street. But anyway, when the inspector came, he did not find what he was looking for. And instead, he made up some false accusations, and I still want from him a report of his demands that originally was the reason for his forced entry. He actually also failed his own inspection because I had an engineering letter from 2-3 years prior to that with 2-3 options, but they demanded I request another 3rd letter from the engineer, and this is only what they accepted. When he came in October of 2021, he completely failed his own inspection that he previously passed. Unreal. I also still need his calculation on the report about the moisture concern that he had, because I have not seen it, and he's demanding it from me. And also, you guys don't have even an engineer on staff. Like, how come such a big city that doesn't have an engineer on staff, if somebody wants to come in to discuss any issues? None.
Okay, your time is up. Okay. Thank you so much. Next, we have Russ Gurritt. Is Russ on the line?
Russ is, and he's been unmuted. And he was sound checked earlier. So he may be having some difficulties right now. Do you want to circle back, Mayor?
Yes, I will circle back. We will then go to Sergey Kasel.
Okay, do you want for Sergey to speak right now?
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, hi, I'm Sergey Kessel, 4516 Winchelsea Place. Like, my concern is, like, why you inspector lack of knowledge? You hired inspectors for city inspector only with high school diploma, with no experience on the field, while another state required, 10 years experience plus license of the trade. Even you expect inspector open up mouth, it's lack of knowledge. And also I want to talk to you about David Brooks, who falsified my permits. Also Brian Robinson, who failed his own inspection. And also, he falsified his report. Now I demanding report from you guys, make sure you can say him hello. I need calculation, engineering calculation, because I do not understand, only his writing, because I need calculation, and based on mathematics science, geometry and mathematics, we determine like a dead load and live load, by mathematically. Do not play politics in exact science construction. And also builders not educated in North Carolina because do not have experience, inspectors, do not have a training on the field, and nobody raised up these questions. Citizen can even consulting, because in city of Raleigh do not have a structural engineer on the field. And I want to say hello to Bufkin, because Bufkin, you pain in the Butkin, because you city council right now, but you go to your Senate, you can, I call you many times, you can even come over and straight out a small street, 15 houses problem, because this is grandfather in, and it's not go anywhere, you go. You only stay 2 years, but this problem stay forever. If you don't want to fix it, it's not place for you to U.S. Senate. And hello to city attorney, because she abusing her power.
Your time is up. Your time is up.
You got my mess.
Attacking staff is totally inappropriate, and you're not following the rules of decorum. And we have sent this issue to committee before. There has been plenty of discussion. We have had neighborhood complaints regarding what you've done with the street, and what you just did was totally inappropriate. So I see Pat up here. Pat, do you have something you would like to say?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, thank you for the opportunity, and council. I'll be very brief. I did want to just note that the claims that the caller has made against the building officials he referenced were fully investigated by the North Carolina Code Officials Qualification Board in December of last year, and found to be without basis and not upheld. So they were completely cleared of any misconduct or any other concern.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have Jennifer Sikora.
Hi, my husband Eric Bodick and I moved to Raleigh several years ago because of his
Could you
role.
give your name and address for the record, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yes, Jennifer Sikora, 706 Hinsdale Street.
Mm-hmm.
My husband Eric Bodick and I moved to Raleigh several years ago because of his role as a Pendo co-founder. We were excited to be part of Raleigh's growth and its desire to be a most livable city. We chose the Glenwood Brooklyn neighborhood for its close-knit, diverse residents in single-family homes and its proximity to vibrant commercial districts. Yes, city life can be messy at times, but the cons that we and our neighbors deal with today are far from normal and livable. Every single weekend after 2 a.m., we endure crime spilling into our residential streets because of zoning that allows a cafe to keep the party going until 5 a.m., while everyone turns a blind eye to after-hours alcohol consumption by many of their patrons. We witness public intoxication, assaults, gunshots, reckless driving, vandalism, excessive noise, and littering as patrons return to their cars illegally parked in front of our homes. For years, we've been repeatedly in touch with many of you and city staff, yet everyone is still playing hot potato while we are left to live with this. Half-baked attempts have ineffectively aimed at the symptoms, not the root problem. We're sick of the excuses and explanations, but you will keep hearing from us. We need you to strengthen penalties for chronically bad commercial neighbors whose business practices routinely bring crime and harm to those who live nearby. There's nothing to stop this after-hours chaos in other neighborhoods. Please don't forget, Vibrant communities need people who love living there. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm sure that Eric has told you that I've been working with him on this issue. We've increased the police presence, especially between 2 and 5 and 5 a.m. Also issuing parking citations and looking at options we might legally have to address this. So thank you for speaking up, and we will continue to work on this. Okay, my understanding from Beth that Russ is on the line.
Yep, this is Russell Jurek. Live on Spruce Drive in Laurel Hills neighborhood, and I'm going to talk about the proposed Baker project at 4008 Laurel Hills. So how can growth be properly managed without oversight or reviews that are specific to the relevant neighborhood or hoods? In council meeting a couple of months ago, there was a presentation that 96% of zoning requests are approved. Are we to believe that builders have utopian vision and nearly perfect proposals, or is there a council problem related to project reviews? Please don't hide behind the administrative approval point. I noticed the smirk when that was brought up, and I really find it disgusting. Unchecked development puts the future of Raleigh at risk. Is that the legacy this council wants? Let's focus on the topic more specifically. The parcel in question, which is completely wooded and natural area with streams, will most likely be grazed, clear cut of trees, and growth that naturally control runoff and stormwater. Currently, there are numerous issues related to stormwater and runoff all over the Laurel Hills neighborhood. The city recently spent in excess of $2 million for a new dam near the middle of Laurel Hills Road. This new development will clearly exacerbate the issues, potentially damaging many other homeowners. The proposal does not fit with the neighborhood, which is mostly R2 to R4 was. The project proposed equates to approximately 12 units per acre with minimal setbacks of 20 feet. By the way, would this happen in our sister city of Cary? Absolutely not. Cary has foresight and proactive planning reviews, particularly related to substantial substantial changes to R ratings for neighborhoods. What is Raleigh's goal in allowing no control, out of control growth? There's also the traffic impact. The traffic impacts to Glenmead and Laurel Hills Road will be immense. It's already an unsafe road. Neighborhood traffic management, your city group has called the Laurel Hills Road unsafe and dangerous, and this project will not make it any safer. I request that the city review those, the council review those studies and their own department's reports on that topic. The solution should be to work with the neighborhood, the people you represent, and perform a proper impact study.
Your time is up, Russ. Thank you. Next, we have Stephen Shaban.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. I am Stephen Shaban, and I live at 3903 Laurel Manor Court in a single-family home abutting the property Laurel Hills Townhome just discussed above. Our home was purchased pre-COVID events in February 2020 when the 10-acre property next door was owned by Beryl Shaw, a 106-year-old woman who has since passed. It was clearly then an R4 residential acreage. Never did I expect, with no transparency or due public notice, that my backyard would be turned into a high-density development. Under that plan, I will have the back patios of 10 18-foot wide attached row townhomes strung along the entire back side of my home, my only home, along with the typical clutter of garbage cans, grills, and furniture. And on my left side, an entry-exit cut-through street. This basically puts my home in the center of a roundabout. That's my backyard. Would anyone here know anyone that would like to buy my place now under these circumstances? Clearly, I'm disappointed. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. This entire area of Laurel Hills is mostly single-family homes, and we bought here in reliance on this and that the existing R4 zoning was beautiful. That's what I moved into this area to nurture. Now, I'm going to have a wall of townhomes. I don't think anyone intended for this. I need to come home to peacefulness. I don't want my investment devalued. There is no support for this unintended consequence of the zoning rule change. In light of this, I ask you to stop this proposed development and allow the property to be developed in a manner consistent with R4 zoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Kim Mokhtarian.
Hi, I hope you can hear me and all the sirens in DC. My name is Dr. Kimberly.
Kimberly, we lost you.
Raleigh, North Carolina. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, let me, sorry, could you hear me?
It's very difficult to hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Oh boy, can you hear me?
Kimberly, do you want us to come back to you?
If you can hear me now, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Okay, so again, my name is Dr. Kimberly Mokhtarian, and just to let you know that another year has expired and we are approaching Mother's Day. January 2022, I asked for the city of Raleigh to consider the mothers who have lost their sons. 7 of them have passed away within 7 years to police brutality, and they have not received the treatment that we have seen our city extend to the George Floyd family. They are George Floyds of Raleigh. And I believe that the mayor has a compassion board filled with pastors and other former mayors. We would like to see that same form of compassion given to your own citizens. Last month, the federal government passed the Emmett Till bill. We need one here at the state of North Carolina. And considering the accuser of Emmett Till lives right here in Raleigh, we're asking you to pass a resolution for Emmett Till. We're asking that the city of Raleigh stands and denounce this form of practice from 1955 to 2022. We would also like the city of Raleigh to stand with us and lobby for an anti-lynching, anti-hate bill in the state of North Carolina to cover all forms of lynching. Because as you well know, our Black communities are suffering at high, enormous rates on every level, from housing to policing. And though we do have a new chief who I believe is adamant about bringing a new vision, we still have to go back and deal with the pain that we've caused before. So I hope that you will consider that. We have Mother's Day coming up, and I believe our mothers.
Kimberly, your time is up. Thank you. City Manager, would you follow up with Kimberly to get some more details on specifically what she's asking? Okay. Thank you. Next, we have Richard Johnson.
3225 Oak Grove Circle. At a recent council meeting, Councilor Patrick Bufkin said he was proud to have taken compensation and redistricting out of politics by appointing an independent commission, except that the independent commission wasn't independent and had no expertise in those areas. He followed that blatantly untrue statement by issuing his newsletter repeating the same false claim. He even wrote it in bold type like his role model Donald Trump does. Writing it in bold type doesn't make it true. The original chair of that commission, Eric Braun, is regularly appointed to numerous city boards and commissions. In return, he has been a big donor and has held many political events for the Council of Kane in his lavish home. How many events did you attend there, Mr. Bufkin? How much money has he given to you? And now Mr. Bufkin wants to take what he's learned on council to the legislature. He would be able to run for that seat, and even if he loses, he can still run for council. That's because this council worked with their Republican allies there to move Raleigh's election back to November rather than the spring. effectively giving the Council of Kane an extra unelected year in office and giving Bufkin the consolation prize of running for city council in November if his legislative bid fails. We certainly don't need more liars in politics. We don't need Bufkin on city council. We definitely don't need him in the legislature. We don't need him there enacting what he learned on council. Backroom deals undercutting CACs and citizen engagement, gentrifying neighborhoods, destroying our tree canopy, gerrymandering new districts to disenfranchise people of color, and in violation of the Voting Rights Act, promoting special tax breaks for developers that he wants to use to build a pedestrian bridge from his neighborhood to Wegmans, and all the while pretending that he's done just the opposite. And now Bufkin and this council are poised to further compromise residential neighborhoods by allowing commercial establishments there, vape shops, hookah bars, beer joints, gun shops. Is this the Raleigh you want to live in?
Thank you, Richard. Next, we have Kristen Havlick.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great. Kristen Havlick, 11230 Avocet Lane. I know that we're virtual, but some of you are not even paying attention, so please actively listen to the people speaking. On March 1st, the first in-person meeting in a while occurred in which many constituents came to the meeting asking for city council meetings with public comments to have a hybrid option. Many of the councilors and the mayor also kept their masks off while they could have given their constituents and their colleagues a very contagious virus that has resulted in death, disability, and long COVID. You then went on to have more in-person meetings without even thinking about what your constituents were asking of you. But in the case of someone at the meeting table having COVID, you made the meetings virtual. And while I hope that you've recovered well, I hope that you're thinking twice about making meetings more accessible to your constituents. You always say we want more community engagement, but you have presented few accessible options for the community to be very engaged. You say you want feedback, but whenever someone objects to your decisions, you quickly dismiss us. Having a hybrid option allows your constituents more flexibility to be at meetings and to protect themselves from a pandemic that is still killing, hospitalizing, disabling, and affecting people's long-term health. Some people are working multiple jobs. Some of us travel for work and aren't able to be here every time there's a meeting that we want to speak at. Some people have families, and both the afternoon and the evening meetings aren't the best options when you have kids to feed or get to bed or pick up from school or while at work. Some people are disabled and are not physically able to be at meetings, and some people do not have the means of transportation to be at these meetings. So when will you actually consider what your constituents are saying and then act upon them in the interest of your constituents, not your donors? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Allison Anthony.
Allison is not on the call.
Cole McMullen.
Cole McMullen, 10530 Sablewood Drive, Raleigh, 27617. Campaign season is upon us.
Cole, we have lost you.
Now?
Could we reset the timer, please? And Cole, can we come back to you?
Okay.
Are you having trouble connecting?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. I'll start from the beginning. Campaign season is upon us, and with it comes questionable claims about what this city council has done for Raleigh. I have seen one campaign flyer for a certain councilor claiming to be a champion of affordable housing, but the amount of affordable housing that has been added is not enough to meet the needs of the community. Housing prices are up over 40% since the end of 2019, and rental prices in Raleigh have increased by 20% in a single year. One of the supposed solutions to affordable housing this council has come up with is a tax increment grant policy, which is just a fancy tax break for private developers. Some members of this council don't even want to prioritize affordable housing using the TIG policy, instead advocating that it be used for a pedestrian bridge to increase walkability near a large private company. While increasing walkability in our city is an admirable goal, what benefit does increased walkability do for residents if they are being displaced to areas well out of walking distance? 2 months after passing the TIG policy, which would allow approximately $5 million in tax breaks for wealthy developers, council approved a property tax increase on all residents to generate $7 million of revenue. Shifting the tax burden onto average residents and prioritizing public-private partnerships with campaign donors is not being a champion for affordable housing and will not ameliorate the housing crisis. Disbanding citizens advisory councils while continuing advisory councils made up of private developers is not strengthening democracy. Please do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Haley Kinsler.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, Haley Kinsler, 804 Gorman Street, Apartment C. You'll have to pardon me for the fact that I have not prepared anything in advance or that there may be noise in the background because I'm currently downtown in Moore Square at a rally for reproductive justice and abortion rights. It's an issue that I think is really worth your time and your support and your energy. And so I'm very appreciative of the fact that this is a virtual meeting and that I can be civically engaged while also talk to the city council about my concerns and the things that I feel that you should do as my representatives. What I do not understand is why it is that when constituents come to see you in person, that you are not willing to listen to their concerns, just the same way that you do not listen to their concerns when they call in from all over the city to tell you what they think. It should not be that if I get COVID, I can't come to a city council meeting, but that if my representative gets COVID, they can shut the whole meeting down, cancel all the public hearings, and do it from the comfort of their homes. Do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Forgive me on this name, Tatiana Albinder. Beth is.
Yeah, she was on earlier, but now I do not see her. So maybe we could circle back. She may have just had an issue that caused her to have to leave.
All right, Josh Bradley.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I'm also at the abortion rights rally, so pardon any background noise. Joshua Bradley, 1324 Spring Lawn Court. In light of the imminent overturning of Roe versus Wade, I want to address what is a clear attack on bodily autonomy and the right to choose. In light of these attacks, I would implore all candidates in the upcoming election to return all campaign funds donated by anyone who supported the people who are responsible for the changes to the Supreme Court that led to this atrocious attack on bodily autonomy and the rights of women and the LGBTQIA+ community. Any elected official who fails to do this not only is not only complicit in these attacks, but they are an active instigator of them. Any candidate that represents the people should be willing to prioritize bodily autonomy, access to health care, and the right to choose over profit. It is time for the city to create buffer zones around all healthcare facilities. These buffer zones should have restricted noise ordinances and provisions placed to ensure all people have safe and stress-free access to their medical care. These buffer zones have already been implemented in other cities. Why not here in Raleigh? Any person elected to the city council should be willing to stand up against attacks on bodily autonomy, and a buffer zone is an important way to do this. Additionally, it should be noted that the reasonable time frame for city council election extension should have been the upcoming May primary. Almost every other city in the state has postponed their elections until then. After this time, you will be past the reasonable time frame and will effectively be past your mandate. I humbly ask that you take no action unless it involves an imminent threat to the safety of the citizens of our city until elections have been held and a new mandate begins. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Hua Huang.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Hua Huang, 7401 Ebenezer Church Road. Today's meeting was changed to virtual at the last minute, so tonight's agenda only featured public comment. Yes, as far as we're concerned, we're still going to be limited to 2 minutes. Improving citizen engagement should mean speakers have enough time to make a point, and 2 minutes are barely enough. This is the second time that there's been a last-minute change from in-person to virtual format, which means all public hearings once again had to be rescheduled in order to meet notice requirements, which, by the way, has been moved to Tuesday at 4 p.m. when many people will be at work. So before getting into that, I want to talk about the mayor recently catching COVID after she removed the indoor mask mandate and held several meetings where she and other council members remained maskless. This reflects poorly on your leadership. The fact that the mayor caught COVID means that you put many of your colleagues, staff, and general public at risk. This is why future meetings should be hybrid, in which UNC school government has said are perfectly legal. This is not only about accessibility and safety, but also about respecting the time people have put aside as opposed to work or other obligations. This council criticized CACs because people were required to attend in person at a specified date, time, and place. So how is this refusal to allow hybrid any different? How does rescheduling a public hearing to a weekday at 4 p.m. make it any more accessible to people still at work? As far as all the rescheduled public hearings are concerned, if these hearings could be pushed back, maybe even by over a month, as is the case with Western BRT due to Ramadan, why was the city council in such a hurry to rubber stamp so many rezoning cases over the past 2 years? Does that mean you could have taken the time to make sure all impacted communities could be properly informed before moving forward all along? To reevaluate the decisions on having a hybrid meeting on why you have hearing rescheduled to 4 p.m. on a weekday. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Evan Gothard.
Hey, thank you, Mayor Baldwin and City Council, for your time tonight. I'm Evan Gothard. I live at 3820 Laurel Hills Road, and I'm here to talk about the 4008 Laurel Hills Road proposed development, but in terms of potential unintended circumstances or on other life forms, including endangered species that live in Crabtree Creek. My ask is that council and the mayor direct staff to ask Baker to redraw the proposed development at 4008 to include the NC wildlife recommendations for dealing with threatened and or endangered species that are aquatic in nature. NC wildlife cites that there are 4 different types of mussels in the Crabtree Creek area that are either federally or state threatened or endangered. And 2 of those populations are what they call highly vulnerable. So what the ask is again for you to redirect the staff so that they can include the 3 mitigations for upstream effects on populations such as this. This includes a 200-foot buffer around permanently flowing water that is forested, limiting impervious surface, and not changing the natural topography of the land. So in asking them to redraw this will protect the downstream piece. Why do we want to do this? To avoid violation of the federal Endangered Species Act and avoid any potential media coverage that would be negative to the city. Baker has included a 50-foot buffer. That's per NCDEQ for water quality for drinking. NCDEQ does not regulate anything in regard to endangered species. They refer to NC wildlife. So again, the ask is for you guys to go to staff, to have staff ask Baker to redraw this. And the reason that they're going to redraw it is to protect endangered species that are downstream from here. I'm glad to answer any questions about this. I will send you my research on this, which comes from
Evan, your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
And when the meeting on Monday, you can bring this up and talk to staff directly and ask them questions. Thank you. And next we have Martha Brock.
Yes, this is Martha. I live at 4713 Old Plank Road.
Martha, excuse me 1 second. I'm sorry. Thank you. I was just going to ask them to set the timer.
Oh.
Please continue. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. I wanted to bring something up because I do have some history with Dix Park. I was involved before the land was actually sold to the city. I was on a legislative committee. So I know something about how things happen between state and local government. Not a lot, but just a little bit. And my reason for speaking to the council is I have concerns about Dix Park and its current slow development. And I do have something to propose. Many of you have probably already heard or read that the North Carolina Zoo is closing its aviary. And many of you know how I feel about birds. I can see how there could be something done that would address problems with these facilities. And it could be done by relocating the aviary to Raleigh. It would be a good location if it was near Dix Park or on Dix Park, because nearby is NC State with all those brilliant students that know zoology and ornithology or whatever. Anyway, could be the vet school, but the students could benefit by working and learning at an aviary. And I think it would be a great attraction for Dix, because now we're dealing with special events for the most part, and having something that's open continually and not just on a weekend or a special day.
Martha, your
yes.
time is up. And
Okay.
if this is something you would like to see considered, you might want to talk to the Dix Conservancy as well. There's already a master plan that has been developed and approved.
I realize
Yeah.
that, but the people I've talked to so far are at the state level.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, thank you for being here. And please have those conversations. I'm going to circle back to see if Tatiana Elbinder is.
Mayor, she did not come back on the call.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. We have gone through public comment, and there are no other issues on our agenda tonight. So I am adjourning the meeting, and we will see you next week on Tuesday in person, May 10th at 3 o'clock for our work session, 4 o'clock for public hearings. And just reminding anybody, if they want to sign up for the public hearings, they have until 5 p.m. to do so the day before. You might have noted that there were very few people who had signed up. I think we had 2 people signed up. So let's see. If anybody else wants to talk, they have that opportunity to. So thank you, everyone, and take care.